delete this stuff. This is my reputation, bro. I apologize for saying what I said to you. Please, man.
But you called.
Damn, 50 calling me. So I answer the phone. He like, hey, what you think about going to acting classes? I want you to play your dad. And at first, you know, it sounded crazy, but of course, you know, I'm gonna do it. I'm not doing nothing, so of course I wanted to do it. You know, I just didn't know if I could do it.
The draft from Randy about, because it was important to show the origin story, to see the innocence and how they chose to get involved.
4 months, people have been talking quietly about how those people actually live their lives. But now, all the parts of the mystery are finally fitting together. And the whole situation does not look good. Those private conversations that got out are where everything first started. That was the exact moment when things began to fall apart for everyone to see. In those talks, Lil Meech is almost begging the other person, saying, please get rid of these messages. This is about my public image, man. It was like he knew a big problem was about to happen. He tries to take back what he said, telling them, I am sorry for the things I said, hoping it would make the situation better. But then, the other person's voice answers him sharply, but you said it was a lie, though. And Lil Meech answers back, what was a lie, Demetrius?
Begging you, please, delete this stuff. This is my reputation.
That part right there tells you everything you need to know. That is not how someone sounds when they are in charge. That is the voice of a man who is trapped and has no way out, trying desperately to look good while everything is falling apart around him. You can hear the panic in every single word. His voice is unsteady, hurried, and sounds almost broken. It is like he has already used up every possible excuse he had. And the seriousness of what was happening finally sunk in. After that point, things only get more bad. He keeps returning to the same point over and over, getting tangled up in his own reasons, trying to make himself sound believable, but actually making things worse for himself every time he speaks. Then the worst moment happens. He says that he told a lie just to convince Selena Powell to take down something she posted online. That is the kind of mistake that can ruin your entire career. Once people on the internet find out you told a lie like that, it is basically over for you. Pictures of your messages do not just disappear, and the jokes people make about you will stick around a lot longer than people's good opinion of you ever will. But this is actually where the real trouble starts. For a very long time, Big Meech was seen as a legend, someone who could not be harmed, a sign of being powerful and respected. Now that famous history is being completely ruined by a whole new wave of problems and gossip, and it is moving quickly all over every social media site you can think of.
You, please, delete this stuff. This is my reputation, bro. I apologize for saying what I said to you. Please, man.
But you said it was cap, though. What was cap, Demetrius?
Selena, I said that to get the post deleted, Selena.
Okay. You're right. But now you want to make me look like a liar in front of the internet. It's crazy, Demetrius.
That's not how I tried to make you seem. I apologize for that.
For a long time, people talked about the BMF kingpin having huge amounts of money. They said cash was hidden everywhere, and the stories made Big Meech seem like a powerful legend who could not be touched. When he was released from prison, everyone thought he would go back to being incredibly rich and powerful. But Selena Powell is saying that story is completely false. She says the truth is very different, and that the famous empire of hidden money might not be real at all. She is known for exposing celebrities, and she has now gotten involved in this situation. What she is claiming is shocking everyone. She says that Lil Meech is not just having a hard time, but that he has no money. She even claims Big Meech is living by getting help from friends, not from a fortune. Selena says she saw Lil Meech's problems herself, watching him party too much and lose control. She says she saw his expensive Lamborghini and Ferrari cars get taken away because he could not afford the huge bills for them. She also revealed another big piece of information. She says both Lil Meech and Big Meech are currently living in one of Floyd Mayweather's giant houses in Miami. However, she claims they do not own the house or pay rent for it. Instead, they are just staying there as temporary guests.
First time I met 50, you know, it was just genuine. And I sat by him and we actually got to watch people audition for a couple hours. And the next day he called me, 8 o'clock in the morning, woke me up. I'm like, damn, 50 calling me. So I answered the phone. He like, hey, what you think about going to acting classes. I want you to play your dad. And at first, you know, it sounded crazy, but of course, you know, I'm gonna do it. I'm not doing nothing, so of course I wanted to do it. You know, I just didn't know if I could do it.
The draft from Randy about, because it was important to show the origin story, to see the innocence and how they chose to get involved.
When you start putting all the little details next to each other, the story Selena Powell is telling begins to seem more and more possible. The order of events matches what happened next. The money seems to stop coming in, the big chances disappear, and the problems begin to show. Remember when 50 Cent was the first person to step away from them? He did not wait around. He canceled the BMF television show, stopped talking to them, and even called off the huge Welcome Home concert that was supposed to happen for Big Meech. Both of those major projects were gone in an instant, and so was their main way of making money. Once that connection with 50 Cent was broken, their financial situation started falling apart much quicker than anyone thought it would. What used to look like a powerful empire that could not be stopped now feels like a trick. It seems like the idea of being rich was built on old fame and borrowed glamour. The problems are not just little cracks you can barely see anymore. They are wide open for everyone in the world to look at. It is hard to watch this famous history fall apart, especially for the people who remember what the real BMF time period was like. Back then, Big Meech was not just trying to get money, he was the definition of money itself. He did not follow what was popular. He was the one who decided what would be popular. During those years, he created the example for what it meant to live a huge life. They had private jets ready for them whenever they wanted. They had rows of expensive Maybach and Lamborghini cars that they showed off like prizes, and they threw parties that showed a whole generation what success looked like. He wore diamond watches on both of his wrists, and his designer clothes looked unbelievably expensive. Nightclubs would actually close their doors to everyone else just so the BMF group could come inside. And when they arrived, it seemed like money was falling everywhere. Big Meech created a whole culture based on showing who was in charge by spending a ridiculous amount of money. It was not about what you saved, but about how much you could spend all in one night. Now, many years later, he probably wishes every single dollar he threw around in those clubs was still safe in a bank account. That is the harsh truth about that kind of life. The same hustle that takes care of you can later turn on you and leave you with nothing when it is finally time to pay your bills. Being famous does not last forever. People's attention moves on to someone else, and all those expensive things can become massive debts before you even realize it. Showing off in a reckless way always has a cost, and eventually, someone has to pay the price. That painful feeling is even stronger when you watch Lil Meech struggling under the weight of his father's huge legacy. How does a person who was born into one of the most powerful street empires ever end up having his secrets told to the public by someone like Selena Powell? That is a very long and hard fall that nobody predicted. Selena is not the kind of woman that men usually boast about being with. People already know how she operates. She has built a name for herself as a modern-day superhead, going from one famous person to another, turning every relationship into something she can use, and telling all their secrets the moment the money stops coming in. It is a dangerous pattern, and she is very good at it, using her own fame as both a way to attack and a way to protect herself. Anyone with real sense would tell their friends to stay far away from women like that. They bring a kind of trouble that starts slow but burns deeply, turning private errors into public disasters. And in a world where how people see you is the most important thing, one bad story can ruin many years of work in just a few seconds. This is especially true when the story comes from someone who makes money from creating chaos. Big Meech was a man who lived through a time that was built on danger, tests of loyalty, and federal agents watching his every move. He knew every single rule of the game, every move that could make a kingpin successful or destroy him. But Lil Meech, he either did not pay attention to those lessons, or he thought that his famous last name made him safe from consequences. And that is always the moment when the biggest mistakes happen. Selena Powell did not stop talking about the cars that were taken back, or about them living in a famous mansion. She went even further, attacking his public image without stopping. She came out with new accusations, saying that Lil Meech was fighting a serious addiction to pills. And that is not just bad for your health, it completely destroys your credibility. Once people believe you have lost control of yourself, then everything you do is seen as a sign of weakness, and people doubt every move you make. In the music and entertainment world, where how people perceive you is everything, a rumor like that is as destructive as a wrecking ball. Suddenly, every part of his cool image seems shaky. Every picture, every video, every social media post becomes a piece of evidence for people on the internet to pick apart. And just when it seemed like things could not get any worse, Selena shared her most shocking claim yet. She called him a snitch. According to her, it all goes back to a time when the police pulled over a car and found a gun inside. She claims that Lil Meech did not take the blame for the gun. Instead, she says he told the police that the gun belonged to one of his own friends. That same friend, she says, ended up going to jail because of it, while Lil Meech did not get in any trouble. Now, it does not even matter if her story is completely true or completely made up, because the harm is already done. In street culture, being called a snitch is a stain that never washes off. Once the word is said out loud, it does not go away. Even just a quiet rumor about it can ruin your reputation, break all the trust people had in you, and permanently damage a family's history. And with a last name as important as Meech, that kind of accusation does not just start some gossip. It shakes the very base of a legacy that was built on loyalty, power, and respect. Now, just try to imagine this. If the internet and social media had existed when BMF was at its most powerful, everything would have been completely different. Think about the chaos if every scandal, every show of wealth, and every secret deal had been posted online for the world to see within seconds. Back in those days, bad news traveled slowly through quiet whispers, interviews where people spoke in code, and rumors on the street. But now, one single picture of a text message can ruin a person's reputation before the next morning. In today's world of technology, the real truth cuts much deeper than a fake image ever could. When you are actually doing well and winning in life, your success does all the talking for you. You do not need to beg for people to approve of you or pretend to live a lifestyle you cannot afford. But when you do not have much money while your social media is full of pictures showing a luxury life, there is always going to be someone who is ready to tell the real story. And they will come with proof like pictures of text messages, saved voice messages, and videos that you cannot argue with. That is exactly what is happening right now. They are acting incredibly rich and successful in public, but behind the scenes, they are desperately asking people to help them. It is a very stark difference. And when the name Meech gets connected to something like that, it feels even more serious. The family history that once meant power and pride is now in danger of being remembered for money problems and panic. The real lesson hidden inside all of this drama is simple but important. You should live on the amount of money you actually have. There is no reason to be embarrassed about spending less when you do not have as much money coming in. Stop trying to make people impressed by you with fancy cars and expensive clothes, because when the bills for those things arrive, those same luxury items become traps. A Lamborghini might look amazing in a social media picture, but it can empty your bank account faster than any hater could. There is absolutely nothing wrong with being practical, driving a Honda or a Toyota, or any car that is affordable and lets you live without money stress. That is the real meaning of power, being financially secure, not just financially flashy. Having a stable life lasts much longer than a fake luxury life ever will. And if you go through a rough time with money, there is no shame in selling some extra jewelry or getting rid of things you do not really need. Your pride will not pay your bills, but having peace of mind will. In a world that is all about image and illusion, being an honest and real person is the best way to be cool. And the people who understand that lesson when they are young are the ones who will actually be successful in the long run. You should save your money quietly, because money that is saved and invested is the kind that becomes powerful without you ever having to talk about it. Showing off disappears quickly, and once you get to the point where you are begging people to delete posts, frantically calling people, and trying to control the bad news, it is already too late. The harm is done. In this modern time, one mistake you make online can stay in people's minds longer than any newspaper headline. Every phone call you have could be recorded, every private message could be screenshotted, and every wrong step you take can become famous on the internet before you even understand what you did. Nothing stays private anymore. The second it appears on the internet, it is there forever. And now, on top of all the money trouble, Lil Meech is dealing with another very difficult challenge. He needs to get healthy. If those stories about him having a problem with pills are even a little bit true, That would explain a lot of the irresponsible decisions and messy behavior that everyone is seeing. When someone is struggling with addiction, it makes it hard for them to think clearly. They start to trust the wrong people, they make desperate choices, and they say things they can never unsay. The public attention becomes more intense, the stress builds up, and every single mistake becomes something for people to gossip about. By the time the effects of the drugs wear off and the person has to face reality again, it is already too late to fix it. The video clips are already saved, the text messages are already shared, and the people on the internet have already decided what they think. That is the kind of trap that can end a career right in front of everyone. And right now, that is what we are all watching happen. New recordings of conversations keep being released one after another. Crazy claims are piling up without stopping. And every new piece of information hurts more than the last one. This is not just hurting Lil Meech's reputation. It is also creating a dark cloud over his father's name. The empire they built piece by piece, which was a symbol of strength and loyalty, now looks like it is breaking apart because of its own problems. The legendary story that once stood so tall is now being replaced with mess, confusion, and uncertainty. What people once saw as an amazing legacy now risks being remembered only as a warning. It shows that no matter how successful you become, one careless moment in the age of the internet can make it all fall down. The name Meech does not deserve to be destroyed in this way. Not after everything it used to mean to people. Back in the 1990s and early 2000s, BMF was not just famous, it was like a myth. They had whole fleets of exotic cars driving through the city, private jets waiting for them, special sections in clubs that were reserved just for them, and they had a famous level of control over the music industry that almost no one else could challenge. If a music artist was even connected to BMF, their career could become famous overnight. That is how powerful the whole organization was. But if you look at the situation today, it is a completely different world. That old-fashioned, flashy empire cannot live under the constant watching eye of social media. Everyone has a camera. Everyone is watching. And one single mistake can become a big news story before the sun comes up. The internet does not wait for the real facts to come out. It creates its own version of a story, piece by piece, click by click. Instead of having a quiet power that was built in secret, the Meech family history is now being hit with problem after problem, all while millions of people watch and are ready to give their opinion online. What we are actually seeing is not just the fall of a famous name. It is the coming apart of a family that was once at the very top of their game. A family dynasty that was feared, respected, and looked up to is now being pulled through a storm of online chaos, a storm that was started by their own bad decisions. Big Meech, who was once the ultimate symbol of strength and control, now moves around without saying a word, hardly ever speaking, almost never seen in public, while his son's every failure plays out like a television show for everyone. The same people and places that once supported them and cheered for them are now just watching from a distance, turning their life story into a real-life warning for others. It is sad to watch, but it is the truth. The fans who once worshipped BMF and their rise to power are now treating their downfall like a show on Netflix, eagerly watching every new update, every rumor, every leaked piece of information, waiting to find out what will happen in the next episode. The lesson from all of this is very clear and it hurts. Do not build your life on a foundation of lies. Do not spend more money than you actually have. And you should never, ever give someone else the power to control your reputation, especially if that person makes money when your life falls apart. Because the internet does not forgive people for their mistakes, and it never, ever forgets. The same group of people who support you and get excited about you today will turn against you tomorrow, and will dig up every secret you ever tried to hide. Once that change happens, there is no way to go back in time or to delete all the damage that has been done. If you have been watching this story from the very beginning, and you are interested in what happens, feel free to show that you like this, write a comment down below, share this with other people, and subscribe to see more. You will not want to miss what is coming next.